welcome to our deep dive.
Oh, great.
And today we are going to be exploring Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing that by going straight to the source and looking at some excerpts from the book itself.
Sounds good.
And our mission today is to kind of uncover some of the warnings and insights that Bradbury is giving us in this dystopian world, and to consider how some of those warnings might apply to us today.
Yeah, it's amazing how Fahrenheit 451, even though it was published way back in 1953, still resonates so strongly today. You know, his exploration of censorship and the impact of technology.
Right.
And this whole idea of searching for meaning, it just feels eerily prescient.
It really does.
Like he was looking into the future.
Yeah, and so we jump right into this world on fire.
Okay.
But not in the way that you might expect.
Oh.
So we meet Guy Montag, who's a fireman.
Oh.
But in this world, firemen, they start fires.
Oh, wow.
And their job is to burn any books that they find.
Okay, interesting.
So right away, we know something is really different here.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's really striking is how Montag initially views his work.
Oh.
You know, he's a fireman. He's proud of it. But then we get this detail. He describes the kerosene that he uses to burn books as perfume.
Oh, that's creepy.
Like it's a sensory detail that makes this act of destruction almost appealing.
Right.
Like seductive in a way.
It is seductive, yeah. Like almost like he's brainwashed or something.
Yeah, it's like his senses have been manipulated.
Yeah.
Like propaganda has twisted even this idea of destruction into something that's appealing.
Totally.
It makes you wonder, you know, have you ever noticed how certain harmful behaviors are glamorized in our own society?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just think about how violence is often portrayed in movies and TV shows.
Right.
Or how unhealthy habits can be presented as desirable.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good reminder to be critical of the messages that we're constantly bombarded with.
All the time. Yeah. And if we're only exposed to a single narrative like Montag is, does that eventually become our reality?
Oh, for sure.
And he even says, you know, that houses have always been fireproof.
What?
Like as if history itself has been rewritten to fit this narrative.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even know the truth about the past.
Wow.
And that's really how information control works, right?
Exactly. Controlling information is such a powerful way to control people.
Yeah. Scary.
But then we have this character, Clarisse McClellan, who's Montag's neighbor. She's young and she's so inquisitive.
Oh, interesting.
And she kind of throws a wrench into his carefully constructed reality.
Okay, so she's like this breath of fresh air.
Exactly. She's so different from everyone else.
Yeah.
Like instead of being glued to a screen, she's out walking around observing nature. You know, she actually engages in conversations.
Right.
She even gets Montag to like look at the moon.
Really?
Yeah, she just sees things differently.
I love that.
And then there's this one simple question that she asks him.
Oh, yeah.
Are you happy?
Oh,
and that just completely disrupts his world. It forces him to actually confront his own dissatisfaction, which he's been trying so hard to ignore.
Oh, that's powerful.
And it makes you think, like, have you ever had one of those interactions that completely shifted your perspective?
Oh, many times. I think those moments are so important for growth.
Yeah.
I mean, they shake you up and they make you really re-examine everything.
Forcing you to kind of grow.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like being shaken away from a dream.
Totally.
And for Montag, this encounter with Clarisse coincides with his growing awareness of all of the technology that's in his world.
Right. Technology plays such a huge role in this dystopia.
It does.
Bradbury portrays this society that's obsessed with instant gratification and constant stimulation. They have these giant interactive TV walls.
Right.
And then they have these little seashells that are constantly playing in their ears.
It's like sensory overload.
It is.
24/7.
Yeah, and it creates this really profound disconnect from real human interaction.
Right, like they're not talking to each other. They're just plugged into these devices.
Exactly.
And the prime example of this is Montag's wife, Mildred.
Oh, yeah, Mildred.
She's completely consumed by her parlor family, which are the fictional characters on these TV walls.
That's like she's living in this virtual reality.
Yeah.
Completely detached from the real world.
And then we have this really disturbing event. She attempts suicide.
Oh, gosh.
By overdosing on sleeping pills.
Yeah.
And it's just this stark illustration
Yeah.
of the emptiness and the despair
Yeah.
that can come from this type of detachment from reality.
It's like a warning sign.
It is like a huge warning sign.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about, you know, technology can be amazing,
Oh, for sure.
you know, for connecting and learning.
Yeah.
but it's so crucial to use it mindfully.
Right.
And not let it become a substitute for real human connection.
Absolutely. Like, we see this tension playing out all the time in our own lives.
All the time, right?
It takes real effort to step away from the screens and engage with the physical world.
Yes.
And with the people around us.
For sure. And I feel like it's a constant battle.
It is.
So we've got book burning.
Yeah.
We've got technology as a distraction.
Right.
And then we get into the books themselves.
Okay.
You know, why are they being destroyed?
Mm-hmm.
And we get these contrasting views.
Oh, interesting.
So Clarice, with her innocence and curiosity, she suggests that books were once really important.
Okay.
And that firemen used to put out fires, not start them.
That makes more sense.
Right, that's what we would expect.
Yeah.
But then we have Captain Beatty,
Okay.
who is Montag's fire chief, and he offers a very different perspective.
Oh, okay. So he's kind of like the villain in a way.
Well, he offers his explanation of why books are outlawed,
Okay.
and it's really disturbing.
Okay. I'm curious.
He argues that books are dangerous because they make people think,
Oh, wow.
and that makes them question things,
Yeah.
which leads to unhappiness and discord.
Wow. So it's like they're trying to keep everybody in this kind of like blissful ignorance.
Exactly. They don't want people to rock the boat.
Okay.
And what's really unsettling about this
Yeah.
is that Beatty's logic
Mm-hmm.
really mirrors some real-world arguments
Oh, yeah.
that are used to justify censorship
Right.
and to suppress dissenting voices.
It's like controlling information is this way to control people.
Exactly, and it's scary how relevant that is.
Very relevant.
And then there's this incredibly powerful scene
Oh, okay.
where this old woman chooses to die with her books
Wow.
rather than live without them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what does that say about the power of ideas?
Right. It's like this stark reminder that for some people,
Yeah.
knowledge and the freedom to think are more valuable than life itself.
Wow.
It really speaks to this enduring power of ideas
Right.
and how far people will go to defend them.
It makes you wonder, you know, what are we truly willing to fight for?
Mm-hmm.
What are we willing to sacrifice
Yeah.
for the things that we believe in?
Those are big questions.
Yeah, they are. And it leads us to Montag's internal struggle.
Okay.
He's stolen a book. He's reeling from Clarice's death.
Oh, right.
And he's starting to see the emptiness of his own life.
Oh, wow.
You know, so he's at a crossroads. He's questioning everything he thought he knew.
So he's kind of waking up?
He is waking up.
Yeah.
And this is when he seeks out Faber, who's a retired English professor.
Okay.
And Faber represents this lost world of knowledge and critical thinking.
Yeah.
So he becomes this really important guide for Montag,
Okay.
helping him kind of navigate
Yeah.
the complexities of these books that he's starting to read.
Oh, cool.
It's a powerful example of mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes we need to seek out wisdom and guidance from people
Yeah.
when we're feeling lost.
Absolutely. You know, having a mentor who can challenge us and support us
Yes.
can be so transformative.
That's so important. But Montag's newfound awareness comes at a price.
Oh.
He starts clashing with his wife and his fellow firemen.
Yeah.
He even tries to share some poetry with Mildred's friends.
Oh, no.
And let's just say it doesn't go well.
I can imagine.
They are not receptive.
So they're afraid of the power of words.
They are afraid of what those words might awaken in them.
Wow.
So Montag is really trying to challenge the status quo,
Mm.
and he's meeting a lot of resistance.
Right. And it takes so much courage to challenge the status quo.
Yeah, especially when the people that you love are part of that system.
Exactly. It can be really lonely.
It can, and this resistance just escalates so quickly.
Oh, no.
It leads to this terrifying scene where Montag burns down his own house.
What?
He actually kills Beatty and becomes a fugitive.
Wow. He's going all in.
He's going all in. He's done
Yeah.
with this system, and he's hunted by the mechanical hound,
Oh, right. The mechanical hound.
which is this terrifying symbol of the state's power to control people.
Yeah, it's like this embodiment of their surveillance.
It is. It's this terrifying machine.
So what does this tell us about the dangers of blind obedience?
I think it's a stark reminder that conformity can have devastating consequences. And it takes incredible courage to resist and to challenge unjust systems,
Yeah.
even when it comes at a personal cost.
For sure. And so with the city literally burning around him, Montag manages to escape to the countryside.
Yeah.
And that's where he encounters these book people,
Oh, yes, the book.
like a hidden oasis in the midst of all this destruction.
It is, and they've dedicated themselves to preserving knowledge in this really unique way.
Okay.
But we're going to have to delve into that
Yeah.
in the next part of our deep dive.
I'm intrigued.
So stay tuned.
I will.
We'll be right back. Okay, so we left off with Montag escaping from the city.
Right.
and he encounters these book people
Yeah.
in the countryside.
It's such a powerful moment, like this transition, from all that destruction to this possibility of renewal and hope.
Yeah.
And these book people, they've chosen to preserve knowledge
Yeah.
by memorizing entire texts. It's like a testament to what the human mind is capable of.
It really is. It's like this beautiful act of resistance.
Totally.
They've rejected all the shallowness of their society.
Yeah.
And they found this way to keep these stories and ideas alive.
Yeah.
Even when everyone is trying to destroy them.
It's like this deep human need to connect with something larger than ourselves, right? Like we need to find meaning and purpose beyond just like our own little lives.
It's so true. And it makes you think about, what choices are we making today?
Right. Are we using technology to connect and learn?
Yeah.
Or are we letting it distract us and keep us from really engaging with the real world?
Yeah, that's the question.
Bradbury really was ahead of his time.
He was.
Like, he saw how seductive technology could be.
Yeah.
And how easily we can just get consumed by this promise of escape.
It's so easy.
Yeah. And this whole idea of, like, a curated reality that's
Right.
like social media today.
It is. And it's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of information and entertainment.
Right.
Like, you just lose yourself in the endless scroll.
It's like a black hole.
It is. And all of these carefully constructed echo chambers.
Oh, yeah. Those echo chambers, they're really dangerous.
They are, because they just reinforce our existing biases.
Exactly.
And they limit our exposure to different perspectives.
It's like we're all living in these little bubbles,
As we are.
shielded from anything that might challenge our worldview.
Which is exactly what the government is trying to do in Fahrenheit 451, right?
It is, they're controlling information so
Yeah.
they can control people.
Right.
They create a society where everyone is just content with entertainment.
And conformity.
Yeah, nobody's rocking the boat.
And that brings us back to this central theme,
Okay.
the importance of critical thinking.
Yeah, we can't just passively consume information.
Right. We have to question it, analyze it, and form our own opinions.
It's about being an active participant in shaping our own understanding of the world.
I love that.
Yeah, not just accepting what we're told, but seeking out different perspectives.
Right.
Evaluating evidence and coming to our own conclusions.
And that's where Fahrenheit 451 gets really uncomfortable.
Okay, why?
Because it forces us to look in the mirror
Yeah.
and examine our own habits.
Right, like, are we choosing connection?
Or are we choosing the comfort of, curated content and echo chambers?
It's a tough question.
It's a constant battle.
It is. I think we all struggle with this.
For sure.
It takes so much effort to resist that pull of instant gratification,
Right.
to step away from the screens and actually engage with the world in a meaningful way.
It does. And it's not even just about the amount of time
Right.
that we're spending online.
It's how we're using that time.
Exactly. Are we actually seeking out information that challenges us?
That expands our understanding,
Yeah.
or are we just reinforcing what we already believe?
Right.
Those are the key questions.
They are. And this also ties into another theme that Bradbury explores,
Oh, yeah.
individual expression
Yeah.
and the courage to be different. And we see this embodied in Clarice with her unique perspective and willingness to question everything.
Mm-hmm.
And of course in Montag, who risks everything to break free from this controlled existence.
They both represent this rejection of conformity
Yeah.
and a celebration of individuality and intellectual curiosity.
And I think it's Bradbury's way of saying that even in a world that tries to suppress individuality,
Yeah.
there are always going to be those people who resist.
Yeah, the rebels.
They are the rebels, and they dare to think for themselves
Right.
and to forge their own path.
That's where the hope lies.
Yeah.
With the book people, they're the ones embracing knowledge and preserving these stories and ideas that have been lost.
And they represent this possibility of rebuilding a society
Right.
that's based on something more meaningful
Yeah.
than just mindless consumption and blind obedience.
Exactly.
But then as Montag is starting to adjust to this new reality,
Yeah.
we get this really jarring shift.
Oh, what happens?
The city he left behind is completely destroyed by a nuclear attack.
Oh, wow.
It's just this stark reminder of how fragile civilization really is
Yeah.
and the devastating consequences of unchecked power.
It really raises the stakes.
It does. It's like Bradbury showing us what can happen when we don't heed the warnings.
Right.
When fear and ignorance win out.
Over reason and empathy.
Exactly.
That's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought, and it brings us to the final phase of Montag's journey.
Okay.
Rebuilding and remember.
Rebuilding and remembering.
So in the ashes of this destruction,
Mm-hmm.
the book people They start to envision a new future,
Okay.
one that's grounded in the wisdom of the past,
Yeah.
the power of storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance of human connection.
I like that.
And a key part of this is Granger's story
Okay.
about his grandfather, who was a sculptor.
Okay.
And it's not just about creating something beautiful.
It's about leaving something meaningful behind. Exactly, like a legacy that extends beyond our own lifetimes. Right, like recognizing that we're all part of this larger story,
Yeah.
this continuum of human experience
Yeah.
that stretches across generations.
And we each have the potential to contribute to that story,
Yeah.
right? To shape the world in some way through our actions and our choices.
That's a powerful idea.
It is, but what does that actually mean for us?
Right, like how do we take these big ideas
Yeah,
and apply them to our own lives?
that's the challenge.
It is, and I think that's what Bradbury wants us to think about.
Yeah.
He's not giving us easy answers,
No.
but he's prompting us to really consider what kind of world we want to create.
What kind of world do we want to leave behind?
Yeah, a world where knowledge is valued,
Mm-hmm.
individuality is celebrated,
Hmm.
and human connection is at the center of it all.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is, and so as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Yes.
let's think about some concrete steps we can take
Okay.
to actually embody these values.
How can we cultivate critical thinking,
Yeah.
navigate the digital world mindfully?
Right, and foster genuine human connection in our own lives. Stay tuned.
There's so much more to explore.
We've spent some time, exploring this dystopian world of Fahrenheit 451
We have.
and talked about, how some of these themes are so relevant today.
Yeah, some unsettling parallels.
But, rather than leaving us with this sense of, doom and gloom,
Right.
I think Bradbury's really offering us a challenge,
Yeah, I think so too.
like a call to action.
Like, what can we do about it?
Exactly. So let's talk about some of those concrete steps that we can take
Okay.
to resist this dystopian future that he kind of lays out for us.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about critical thinking,
Yeah,
but how do we actually cultivate that
it's a good question.
in a world that often seems to discourage it?
Well, I think the first step is to recognize that critical thinking isn't just something you're born with.
Okay.
It's a skill.
You can learn it.
You can learn it, you can develop it.
Okay.
And one of the best ways to do that is to diversify your sources of information. Oh, that's so important, especially today.
It is.
It's so easy to fall into these echo chambers online.
Yay.
But Bradbury's really reminding us that to grow intellectually,
Mm-hmm.
we have to confront ideas that make us uncomfortable.
For sure.
What about you? What strategies do you use to make sure that you're getting, different viewpoints?
Well, I try to seek out sources that challenge my own biases.
Okay.
Like I'll read articles from publications that I don't necessarily agree with.
Right.
I'll listen to podcasts that have a variety of perspectives,
Mhm.
and I also try to talk to people who have different opinions than my own.
That's like cross-training for your brain.
Yeah.
You're working out those critical thinking muscles
Exactly.
by exposing yourself to these new ideas.
By getting out of your comfort zone.
And it's not just about, seeking out these diverse viewpoints.
Right.
It's also about slowing down
Yes.
and really engaging
Being present.
with the information that we're taking in.
Yeah. Don't just skim the headlines. Actually read the articles, research different viewpoints.
Right.
Think about what you're reading and how it connects to your own understanding of the world.
It's about, being present
Yeah.
and active in that process
Absolutely.
of learning rather than just passively absorbing information.
Right. And that's where the whole idea, leisure, comes in. Like,
Yeah.
we need time to think.
Yes, we need time to process.
We need to create space for reflection and contemplation.
So important, but so hard to do sometimes.
It's a constant battle.
So we've talked about critical thinking. Another really important part of resisting,
Yeah.
this dystopian future
Yeah.
that Bradbury lays out for us is this idea of human connection,
Right.
which the characters in the novel have totally lost.
They're isolated, they're disconnected, they're living in these artificial worlds.
Created by technology.
Right. So how do we
Yeah.
avoid falling into that trap?
Right. How do we make sure that we're not becoming like Mildred?
Well, I think it starts by being really mindful of how we're using technology.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get sucked in.
It is.
To become addicted to that constant stimulation and, all the likes and the comments and all that stuff.
It's so seductive.
It is.
But we have to make that effort to disconnect from the digital world
Yes.
and reconnect with the physical world and the people around us.
Put down the phone,
Fire.
step away from the computer screen.
Yeah.
Go outside, talk to people,
Yeah.
have real conversations,
Listen to each other.
be present in the moment.
And I think that's one of the simplest yet most important things we can do.
It is.
And it's so easy to forget.
It is, but it's essential for building those meaningful relationships.
Yes.
And fostering a sense of community.
Yeah, and it's not just about spending time with people.
Right.
It's about cultivating empathy and understanding.
For sure, like trying to see the world from other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
Even people that you might disagree with.
Mhm.
Listen to their stories, understand their experiences.
And recognize that shared humanity.
Right.
It's like Bradbury's reminding us that we're all connected.
You are.
We're all in this together.
And finding common ground.
Yeah.
Building bridges of understanding is so essential
Yeah.
if we want to create a world that's more just and compassionate.
And that leads us to, the final piece of this puzzle.
Okay.
It's not enough to just critique the problems.
Yeah. We have to be part of the solution.
We have to take action. And I think that's where Granger's message about leaving something meaningful behind
Yeah.
really resonates.
It's just a powerful message.
It is. And it's not about, doing some grand heroic gesture.
Right.
It can be something small.
Yeah.
Like volunteering in your community.
Supporting local businesses.
Yeah.
Sharing your knowledge and skills with others.
Just being an engaged citizen, caring for your community, making choices that reflect your values.
It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play
Yes.
in shaping the world that we want to live in.
And that even small acts of kindness and creativity, connection can make a difference.
They can.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Fahrenheit 451,
Yeah.
what's the ultimate takeaway here?
Well, I think Bradbury is giving us both a warning and a challenge.
Okay.
He's showing us what can happen, when we let ourselves become complacent.
Right.
When we give up our critical thinking and our individuality to these forces that are trying to control us. But he's also reminding us that we have the power to choose a different path.
We do. We have that power.
We can choose to be informed, to be engaged, to be compassionate.
We can choose to connect with each other.
Yeah.
And create a world where knowledge and truth and human connection aren't feared but celebrated.
And that's a future worth fighting for.
It is. So as we close out this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with one final thought. In a world where information is increasingly, controlled and manipulated,
Right.
how will you be a guardian of truth and meaning?
That's a good question.
What stories and ideas and knowledge will you choose to preserve and share?
Think about it, explore it, and most importantly, act on it.
Because the future, as Bradbury suggests, is not set in stone.
It's not.
It's shaped by the choices that we make,
By the stories that we tell.
by the connections that we forge.
Choose wisely.
Choose wisely.